Neil Young property. Neil Young bought a Broken Arrow Ranch in La Honda, California for $350,000. This Broken Arrow Ranch covers about 1,000 acres. Neil then took thousands of acres and bought the property. In Hawaii, Neil added a $524.5 million home to his estate. The 3,000 square foot Hawaii home has rooms with open porches and 4 bathrooms, 2 two-story 5-bedroom rooms, and sea breezes entering through windows. It includes 2 greenhouses, a pool house, a shaded terrace, and a swimming pool. Neil Young sold the property in mid-2018 for $20 million. Neil bought a $3.6 million home from his girlfriend Darrell Hannah in 2016. Neil's home covers 17.6 acres. Darrell bought the house in 2001 for $1.32 million. Neil Young vehicles. A 1959 Lincoln Continental. A 1940 Chrysler Series 28 Windsor Highlander Coupe. A 1949 Cadillac. We are sharing some information about Neil Young with you. Neil Young is a Canadian-American musician, film director, songwriter, film score composer, screenwriter, activist record producer, and film producer. He was once inducted into the Rock and Roll of Fame as a member of Buffalo Springfield and as a solo artist. Rolling Stone named Neil Young 34th on the list of 100 artists. Acclaimed Music has named him the 7th most popular music personality. He has been certified platinum and gold in the United States by the RIAA certification. He was an officer of the Order of Canada in 2009 and before that he was the Order of Manitoba in 2006. Neil Young's full name is Neil Percival Young, and he is best known as the godfather of Grange Don Grangio Bernard Shakespeare. Neil Young was born on November 12, 1945, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and is now, 2022, 76 years old. In the recording of Ido on the 2019 album Colorado, Young played a glass harmonica. Neil Young early life. Neil Young was born in Toronto, Canada. His father's name is Scott Alexander Young and his mother's name is Edna Blow. He contracted polio with his mother in Canada when he was 7 years old. His parents divorced him for 5 years due to this disease, and he started living with his mother. Neil Young was interested in listening to music during the mid-1950s and was influenced by many other musicians besides Orbison, Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry. From the very beginning, Neil Young had mastered the art of playing the ukulele and many stringed instruments with music. He made his debut album, The Jades, and was still in high school. And so he will gradually move on to music, which is why he dropped out of high school. Neil Young joined music. He quickly climbed the ladder of development and joined a stable instrumental rock band. After that, Neil Young started writing songs about the faux kids in different styles. Neil Young and Los Angeles. Neil Young then joined a band by Rick James that later disbanded, after which Neil decided to move to Los Angeles. Arriving there, Neil met with famous musicians and explored the band Buffalo Springfield. Neil Young after 1970. Neil released his debut album in 1969. The record did not receive the best reviews but performed better after collaborating with him on the solo album. Neil also released Crazy Horse for his 3rd album and joined some other musicians. Neil Young's Old Black. Neil Young has an electric guitar that has been given the nickname Old Black. Neil Young used many guitars, but his favorite guitar was the one he kept from the beginning. His albums include Everybody's Rooking and Tonight's the Night. Neil Young and Donald Trump. Donald Trump used his music in his election campaign, in which he wrote a letter of protest in February, and then in August, he sued the Copyright Act for his personal music used in election rallies. Neil Young in 2022. After Corona, he withdrew his music from Spotify in 2022, in which Joe Rogan was allowed to plot the coronavirus vaccine. Neil Young activities. Neil Young is very concerned about the well-being and welfare of farmers because he is an expert on a transparent environment. Neil Young likes electric cars. In addition, he is very interested in the education and training of disabled and helpless children. Neil Young and Susan Ivesito. Her first marriage was to Susan Ivesito in 1968. 2 years later, his wife, Susan Ivesito, filed for divorce. Neil Young and Carrie Snodgrass. He remained in a relationship with Carrie Snodgrass for 5 years, during which time she gave birth to a baby boy. Neil Young and Peggy. Peggy, who was working as a waiter there, met for dinner at a party near Young's fields. After this meeting, the two decided to get married, and in 2014 Peggy and Young got married and divorced after 36 years.